Hello, my name's Ryugaki, and this is going to be my absurdly long analysis video. I don't want to waste too much time here on the intro, but I think it's important to kind of lay out why I put so much time and effort into this. So, Season 1 of Arcane is one of the best pieces of fiction I think I've ever seen, and the writing quality for its world and its characters is just top tier. With that acting as the base, the animations, callbacks, themes, and references provide a beautiful icing to a damn near perfect cake. Season 2 attempts to do this as well, and I think it achieves this level of icing, but the base, the cake, the writing, fails to live up to any level of Season 1. But the clapping seems to be just as loud. Right, the most important aspect of the story, the writing, is damaged, and the reception is better? This got me thinking, as a director, as a company, why would I take the time to write an airtight script, like in Season 1, when the rushed mess of a plot gets the same, if not better, results? I'm worried we're never going to get another Season 1 from the League of Legends universe again, especially after seeing the reception to Season 2. Nobody seems to care about or notice all of the writing problems, and if those problems are never identified, they're never discussed, then they'll never be fixed, and just like with so many other franchises, the quality will continue to decline until people just stop caring. They'll watch a future arc and say, wow, Arcane was so good. How did it fall off so hard? Not realizing it was the lack of negativity, the lack of criticism that encouraged it. Right, so I guess it's time for me to prove it now. So, starting chronologically, let's break down Arcane Season 2. After the opening, we have our first music video montage. We see Piltover mourning the losses of its council members. The focus is on Caitlyn mainly, dealing with the initial loss of her mother. She sees her at peace in her coffin, then she's carried off, all the while Caitlyn looking like she might break down any second. We also see Vi observing all of the events, looking just as dour. They do a great job showing her how hard a loss it is on Caitlyn and how Vi feels seeing her in pain. The music fits, the art is gorgeous, and the expressions portray their emotions perfectly. It's an excellent use of a montage. It sets the tone, summarizes some plot, expresses the characters involved, and doesn't undermine the world or its characters. Let's hope the rest of them do the same. The music ends with Caitlyn in the ruins of the council, staring at the empty, destroyed seat of her mother. An empty seat that needs to be filled. Mel gives some comforting words, and it's here that my praise kind of stops and the problems begin. It's here that the plot rolls in. Sallow, now crippled and in a wheelchair, is pushed into the scene by Mbessa. He proposes a plan of unprecedented force to flood the Undercity with enforcers armed with Hextech weapons. Mel responds to this, saying his plan would unify them against us. I'll pin this fear Mel has for now. An argument for Zaun's strength and resistance to Piltover's, say, dictatorship can happen a bit later. But the plan is put to a vote, and the invasion wins with 2 to 1. The condition being they will not use Hextech weapons. So, why is this a problem? Let's start with Mel. Mel is against the invasion for seemingly two reasons: the fear of resistance from a unified Zaun, and the corruption of Jace's dream, i.e., the misuse of Hextech, i.e., Hextech weapons. So, naturally, she votes no, which makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the lack of Jace at this Invasion of Zaun council meeting. Maybe he can't leave Victor? Well, he leaves to chat with Caitlyn. Maybe he's pro Hextech weapons after the terrorist attack? No, he tells us he will never again make the weapons. Remember, he says this too, after the rocket that nearly killed some of his closest friends and fellow councilmen. Remember, the rocket is not enough for him to waver here. But whatever, this vote and this proposed plan is meaningless beyond Ambessa influencing Sallow anyways. It never happens. It's undercut by Caitlyn, making one wonder why we pointlessly damaged the political system of the council and made Jace and Mel just look retarded to do it. I don't know what the point is. To keep things relevant, there's a scene a bit later where Mel enters Jace's lab. They talk about Victor's condition, saying he's alive, but the Hex Core is evolving. And to summarize, Jace just isn't really sure what's happening to him, but, well, at least he's alive. Jace then asks, how'd it go with the council? Damn it, Show. Why show me he cares, but he couldn't even be bothered to show up for the vote? Ugh. He then says never again to the idea of a Hex-Tech invasion, to which Mel responds, I handled it, I won't let them corrupt your dream, showing even more that he would care about this vote immensely. Now, people are going to say here, hey, you can't have a problem with him not being there to vote, he doesn't want to be a council member anymore. Or they'll say he resigned, to which I say, not yet. He actually never ends up resigning, but his thoughts to resign happen in the next episode, much later on, after this vote to invade Zon, one if not the most important votes to ever happen. But I suppose, in hindsight, the vote is meaningless, so let's just move on. We cut to Caitlin having a very solemn moment with her disheveled father, and it's here that she's given the Pyramid Key, making her the head of the house. Vi reveals herself to receive a casual racism, because Zon vs. Piltover is still a thing, for now, and Caitlin chases after her. Caitlin breaks down a bit, falling into the arms of Vi, and after a sweet moment, they start talking. Vi begins saying, powder is gone, and that if Jace fixes the gauntlets, I can handle this myself. Caitlin responds, and this is word for word, no more rogue missions, no more reckless plans. My mother was right. My arrogance led me to take on more than I could handle, and she paid the price. Now, I'm not going to dig into this line too long, but the lesson she just vocalized is not once put into practice, but in the interest of time and to not jump across the entire season to find examples, I'm just going to address it here. We have more rogue missions, more reckless plans, and arrogance to the point of becoming a pseudo-dictator. They really should have just cut this line. It's contradicted almost immediately and continuously throughout this entire season. Caitlin tells her about the invasion plan and offers her the badge. It's here that another odd line is said. She tells Vi that by putting on that badge, she can show that not all of Zon supports Jinx. Huh. Odd thing to say, given she just destabilized all of Zon through the death of Silco, an action that not only ruined the best independence deal Zon has ever had, but also caused many deaths through the resulting turf wars, gang fights, and Piltover crackdowns. I suppose if no one knew she was responsible for Silco's death, then maybe, but that's only possible if Piltover withheld that information. And I don't know why they would do that. Listen to this Mel line.
Silco is dead, the underground leaderless. Use their division against them. Pin the attack on Jinx. Post a reward too substantial to ignore.
In what world would you not still pin the terrorist attack on Jinx? Why, and the death of Silco? Why would you not do that? That with a bounty would undoubtedly turn many, if not all, against Jinx. Nothing has happened yet to turn her into a rally symbol. So why are we saying this here? This will fall more on Act 2. Let's just leave it at an odd line from Caitlin. Moving on, Vi turns down the badge on account of enforcers killing her parents. Caitlin says, I thought you were on our side, with the final line being, you didn't think at all. And that's it. 38 seconds. The argument for Vi putting on a badge is roughly 38 seconds, in which Vi says, they killed my parents, so no, and Caitlin responds, I thought you were on our side. Right. So I'd have not gone full accusation and guilt trip here, Caitlin, but I suppose you go, girl. I'd have liked a back and forth as well between Vi and Caitlin, really kind of digging into the issues that they both care about. But that's okay. We have plenty of time, and I'm sure that'll happen before the end of this episode. Okay, so I want to take a bit of a break here to talk about how the show spends its time. This will be a reoccurring thing, so I think it's kind of best to get it out of the way now. In many shows and movies, we come across characters that have a bit more to a lot more screen time than your nameless, faceless extra. A character that is oftentimes there to progress the plot in some specific way or to support another character in doing so. In Arcane Season 1, this would have been characters like Echo's adoptive father Benzo, the gang's Milo, or the former Sheriff Grayson. When these characters are done well, they get characterized. Their personality can be clearly identified, and their motivations align with their existence in the world. Grayson in Season 1 is done exceptionally well. Through her few scenes and interactions, we can see her personality as a serious, experienced, and wise individual. And her motivation bleeds through as well to keep the peace between Piltover and Zahn, even if it means breaking a few rules. She's a great side character, so why bring this up at all? Well, in Season 2, I would go as far as saying all of the side characters are written pretty terribly, or at the very least, pointlessly. Normally, the quality of the least important characters doesn't have a huge impact on the show, but in the case of Season 2, I'd have to say that it does. Season 2 has a problem with time, specifically on time spent pointlessly or inefficiently, for more than just side characters, but we'll stick with that for now. In some cases, it's so bad that it feels like bait. The illusion of a character is created, someone that might have thoughts beyond an nameless, faceless NPC, but then it's cut short or completely forgotten. And in a show that even the most seal-clapping viewer calls rushed, it just can't be ignored how much time they waste on it. Right, so let's make that relevant. The next scene begins with a Vi out in the rain. She angrily tosses a bottle into our first new side character. The show refuses to help us remember his name, which seems to be a reoccurring theme, so instead of his actual name, let's give him one that we'll remember: Reinhardt. After getting up from his pile of trash and empty liquor bottles, he asks Vi if she lost someone in the attack. She doesn't answer, and he offers her a flask. She drinks it, and the scene cuts. This will be the most development we get from Reinhardt. Vi and him are now friends. The scene is almost exactly 1 minute long. Moving on. So skipping the lab scene that we went over earlier, we move on to a park where Caitlin is remembering her mother, Jinx, and Vi. This is done through a minute-long edit of Caitlin prepping to shoot a laughing Jinx, with petals of a purple flower representing her mother raining down. It's a fine scene where my only complaint is time spent. This is a minute that could be spent on Caitlin and Vi arguing over the badge, or more development for the Overwatch squad. Instead, it's repeating things we obviously understand. Caitlin wants revenge. She wants justice. So Jace arrives, waking her up from this dreamscape, and the conversation starts in a rushed set of bullet points. Seriously, it feels like both of them are doing that thing where rather than listening and responding, they're only thinking of what they will say next, and it kind of damages just the, the natural flow of the conversation. Right, so I'm just going to read it kind of word for word here. How'd you find me? Your dad. Mother and I used to come here when we needed an escape. One of the few places we never argued. Oh, okay, so we're having a conversation about her loss and her mother and how she feels about it. Cool. Tell us how you feel, Caitlin. I want to see how Jace responds. I'm sorry I haven't been around. How's Victor? I can't even tell if he's still in there. Okay. Alright, fine, let's talk about Victor. What does Caitlin think about Victor and how Jace feels about it? She then continues about what she actually wants to talk about, describing how she feels about her mother, Jinx, and Vi. The most interesting lines come from the Jinx bit. In fact, it's in this section where the main theme of the show first pokes its rather unearned head. Then there's Jinx laughing. I want to tear that laugh from her throat forever. Kate, Jace responds, his tone implying it's very wrong to say this. I know. I just understand now how easy it is to hate them. One vicious act. Now, we're going to come to it sooner or later, and since this is the first line implying it, we might as well get it labeled. There is a theme of forgiveness in this season. I think everyone agrees on this, and this line is the start of the writers putting it before coherency. This whole Jinx section is treated like it's inherently wrong to hate Jinx. Perhaps it's the killing of Jinx that both recognize as evil, or maybe the racism of Zahn? Maybe the violence of the words tear that laugh from her throat forever. The easy one to handle is the racism towards Zon, right? Both of these characters recognize that hating all Zonites for the actions of Jinx is wrong. It's not a thing that they agree with or a thing that they think people should be doing. That's in character and makes sense for both of them. But hating Jinx to the point of killing her, would either Caitlyn or Jace think there is something inherently evil about this? Jinx was a terrorist before the rocket. Both Caitlyn and Jace wanted to arrest her and try her for her crimes. Hell, Caitlyn almost killed her too. Why the hell would either of these characters act like hating Jinx, wanting vengeance, wanting justice in the form of even killing her is wrong? But yet they do. Beyond the reason of death is bad, violence is wrong, I can't really think of a reason why this is so explicitly stated. We choose to spend minutes on this, so I don't know, I'd like to figure out why. So let's look towards the meta. Why would the writers imply that hating Jinx to the point of wanting to kill her is an inherently immoral thing? Perhaps it's the theme, forgiveness. Perhaps it's to turn Jinx into a
big fat hero.
Even in the eyes of characters that should never feel that way. Or maybe it's something simple, like Jinx is cool and awesome, let's make sure the viewer and all the characters think positively of her. Look, I hope the theme of my implication kind of comes through there. This show really likes Jinx, and it really wants the viewer and all of the characters to forget all the crimes she's ever committed. It really wants you to love her as much as the writers do. And this is just the start, trust me. It gets way more blatant from here. So, is hating Jinx to the point of wanting to kill her a inherently evil thing? I don't think it is. Especially from the perspectives of Jace and Caitlyn, she's an unstable, dangerous, and damn near psychotic individual. How many people are dead because of her? Many would call the killing of her justice. It's just not that cut and dry to say it's just inherently bad and evil to want her dead. It's just not. But I suppose let's just keep going. Caitlyn moves on to Vi rejecting the badge, and she bullet points to Jace. She thinks those gauntlets of yours will solve all of her problems. To which Jace responds, what if she's right? So much for never again, dude. The Chainsaw Clown show hasn't even happened yet and you're already questioning your own line? Like, you seem so happy Mel kept your dream pure, and we're already falling back on that? Guess he started questioning it off screen on his way over here. Let's hope other character defining values aren't changed off screen. We cut to Vi resting on Reinhardt's leg, drinking what remains in her bottle. They share a joke, and Vi says, her dad's right. There's no point in sticking around up here except I'm the one that created the monster. It's then that the rest of the Overwatch squad arrives. Let's start with the least important. Fish Guy. I know he has a name, but I, for the life of Isha, can't find a single scene where it's said. Don't worry, he doesn't speak and he's never developed, so it's fine. The second is Maddie. Yes, she gets to keep her actual name. For reasons. She glazes by for a bit through the retelling of Caitlyn's actions at the station. They have nothing to do with why Vi and Caitlyn were fighting over the badge in the first place and why Vi is now thinking about leaving. But it gets a nod from Vi and she acknowledges it as a good thing. After she says, glad you're joining up. Okay. Maddie then states, after the sheriff betrayed us, well, let's just say, it's nice to know there's still good ones left. She then reaches her hand out, and Vi takes it, with the camera zooming in on the handshake. Okay, so disregarding the fact that this random character's glazing story has an effect on the Vi and Caitlyn badge drama, I just want to share my opinion on this character. I do not like her, and the writers having the gall to have her mention the traitorous sheriff really rubs me the wrong way. Like, that traitorous sheriff has a name, and it's Marcus. I know we all hate him for being a coward and a traitor, but by God is he one of the best written characters in all of Season 1. Throughout all of his screen time, or rather, regardless of his lack of screen time, his personality and motivation is portrayed so well that he puts all of these NPC side characters in season 2 to shame. And the fact that like they dared to mention him as a parallel through Maggie, who ends up just being the traitor, is outright disrespectful. It really is. Spoilers, guys. Maggie ends up being a traitor where there's not a single context clue or scene to support it. She just is. And as we get to the scenes people reference to justify her traitorousness, we'll break down why they don't work, or worse, undermine her even existing as a character. And no, her referencing the traitorous sheriff at the beginning here is not a through line to her being the traitor. It's just not. Come on, people. It's here that we have a transition of people gathering for a memorial of the council. Most of our main characters are there, along with the Overwatch squad. There are guards guarding and guards searching people at the entrances, and the place looks generally secure. Mel begins her speech, which is largely audio filler, and we flash the villains of the scene in their disguises. One of them dressed as a guard with a bag, and the other, the Chem Baron, in a fully shrouded gown. She heads into the VIP section using a special invitation, and makes her way behind Jace, while Bad Guy works his way through the crowd. So Vi notices his tattoo and starts tailing him. He goes into the VIP section, where Vi is stopped, pulling attention to her. Caitlin notices Vi as Bad Guy drops the bag behind the Chem Baron, and Bagless Guy begins to walk on the stage, while Chem Baron begins speaking to Jace about a lost loved one. Jace nervously turns around because his spidey sense activated, and Bagless Guy pulls out a pistol. Baron Lady strips, and Bagless Guy smacks Mel. Wow, this seems life-threatening. If only she had some magic bullshit that can completely recognize the danger of a situation. Oh well. So, this scene, logistically, is later explained by Ambessa giving the Chainsaw Lady the tools to enter, but I love the idea that she says, "Don't kill Mel. You can injure her, but don't kill her." But wait, she wouldn't say that. That's retarded. She would tell them, "No harm shall come to my daughter," which means she trusted a revenge-bent Chemlord to keep her word, which she didn't? Wonderful. On top of all that, we gotta think about the chaos, like just the random bullshit that could have ended up in Mel's death, right? Like a stray bullet, one of these guys just attacking her, or, I don't know, when they land through the roof, one of them just happens to land on stage and stomps her. Like, God, you're just so full of guile, aren't you? You just knew that Mel would be fine. Oh, you know what it is? You knew that she had magic powers, and you knew that they would only react to danger if it is definitively lethal. You just knew. God, you're so smart. Oh my God. You know what's crazy? Is people are actually going to use that as a defense here. Like, seriously, guys? Defending it by saying the powers are omniscient is insane. It's just a plot convenience, okay? It's a writing tool to just make whatever they want to happen with Mel happen, okay? It's lazy writing. The powers are not omniscient. The powers cannot predict the future. The powers cannot definitively tell what is lethal and what isn't, all right? It's just a writing tool. It's a lazy-ass writing tool. Stop making it more ridiculous than it already is. And while we're on Ambessa, let's kind of talk about what she stands to gain from this stunt versus what she stands to lose. So, starting with gains, orchestrating this attack will increase the hostility for Zon, and therefore increase the likelihood of an invasion with Hextech weapons. This reason kind of falls in line with her core motivation, securing Hextech to fight against her enemies in Noxus, which made sense to me on a first watch, right? But upon a second and a third, I thought about what she stood to lose, and it falls right into character assassination. Ambessa would not only be putting Mel at risk, something that at this time she would never do, but also Jace, the only non-coma Hextech scientist. Remember, guys.
How could I not secure the scientists?
And this would almost be a guaranteed sacrifice, as Chainsaw Lady's core motivation is killing Jace. Baron Lady unveils what was in the bag, which is a multi-pronged Chemtech chainsaw. She takes a swing at Jace and misses his neck by a literal millimeter. Lucky. Bagless Man points a gun at Mel, and he scowls. Then he points it in the air and fires. Flare Guy shouts, "None of you are safe," and Fish Guy teleports backstage to tackle him. The only guard to shoot Chainsaw Lady has his shot deflected. How unlucky. His second shot is dodged, alluding to her superhuman capabilities and speed. Remember this, because Lord knows the show won't. Shooting guard gets killed, and his retard friend charges her with a baton. Baton does not beat multi-pronged chainsaw. Shocking. Caitlin takes a rifle from a clueless guard, and we cut to a ship. So what does Chainsaw Lady have to get from this? Right, pros, killing Jace and avenging her son. Cons, almost certain death for her. Now, I'm sure there's some defenders saying, well, she was so committed to her revenge that she didn't care, but also, she didn't know she would lose. To which I say, I think you're half correct. Going into the most secure event in all of Piltover with only a melee weapon certainly shows that she was okay with dying, that she was just so committed to her revenge that even if she died, that would be okay. But if she thought she could win with only a melee weapon and escape alive, then she has to be retarded. Because even just having a flintlock pistol would have made killing Jace 1,000 times easier. But who knows, I'm sure Jace's iframes probably would have accounted for that. Heaven forbid multiple peeps with guns just shoot the chick. Yeah, we gotta think about this logistically for a minute, right? She's literally on her own for at least a minute or two. But I guess Caitlyn has to cinematically look at the sky. They kind of pretend that the chaos has just erupted and there's just nothing anyone can do. It's just so insane that there's so much chaos that nobody has any idea how to react. But there's quite literally only one person with a melee weapon for at least a minute or two. Hell, the ship has to travel a bit, so it might be even more time, but the way it's cut, the scene just kind of pretends that it doesn't. Logistically, none of this works without people teleporting, freezing in time, or outright ignoring each other. So the ship opens up and the Chemtank soldiers begin to rain down. Now, this would be a big enough distraction for Chainsaw Lady to reveal herself, but we went with the other plan where she reveals herself before the chaos starts. I guess she was banking on her stemmed body, right? Because she can dodge bullets, because she's stemmed. I still remember she's stemmed, show. Now, Vi teleports, Caitlyn is in front of the stage, and Mel was led off stage with Fish Guy. Wait, Jace and Chainsaw Girl were just in front of the stage. No one bumped into them? No one. No one bumped into them. Okay. All they did was go up the stairs on the side. Whatever, moving on. So, Jace and Chainsaw are on the stage. Jace defends himself with a piece of, I don't know, a barrier? Guess he just found that? Whatever. He gets in close and lands a hit, then manages to yank out one of her chem pipes, which stuns her for a few seconds. Wait a minute. She's stemmed, right? Is she not stemmed? She was literally dodging bullets a second ago, or is the show telling me she isn't stemmed and she just got lucky? Oh god, I don't know which is worse. Jace doesn't outstrength the stemmed up chem baron, surely, but he won this exchange? Okay. I guess he just got lucky. Jace runs backstage while she's dazed, and it cuts. Last time I should mention this, but she's literally in the spotlight center stage. No one shoots her, including Caitlyn, who would have witnessed the reveal all the way to her attacking Jace. Come on, guys. She's quite literally been right next to all of it the entire time. But we had to have her look at the sky, I guess. Wonderful. All the council members, minus Jace, are loaded on a big van by Maggie and Fish Guy. The van gets knocked over and no one is injured. Maddie then is yanked out by the giant Chemtech, and we pan to Fish Guy looking at an axe. Chem Giant winds up his attack to kill Maddie, and Fish Guy saves her by hitting its leg. They scuffle a bit and then chase each other a fair distance, and Reinhardt swoops in on a killing blow, saving Fish Guy. Shots are fired, and the camera pans to Caitlyn. Now, I realize this is a bit out of order, but cutting across all the characters makes it very hard to break down, so we're just gonna kind of go through it section by section. This all functions fine. My only comment is time spent. Right, this is more animation budget spent on the Overwatch squad, and it actually reinforces their competency and bravery, which is contradicted later. It makes me believe that they might end up being actual characters. Oh well, 40 seconds roughly, but other than that, it's fine as a isolated scene. Sets up the squad forming at the end as well. Gotta give credit where it's due. You get props for that episode, but it's a shame later on we find out that it's just pointless bloat. During all this, Caitlyn and Vi are fighting small chemtechs. Caitlyn kills one with a single bullet. I guess the neck pipes are a weak spot? Huh. It even works on the big guy. Let's remember this. Anyways, Caitlyn gets caught by one, slamming her into the wall by the neck. She is suspended by the body and neck, enough to cause her to choke and gasp for air. This causes no damage. Lucky. Vi saves her by tackling the thing, and Caitlyn returns the favor by shooting a blade just as it is about to pierce Vi's skull, causing it to miss by a few inches. Vi swings around and pulls off the back of its helmet, which kills it. This is all technically possible, though the speed at which Caitlyn recovers and shoots makes you wonder why she didn't save Jace. Half a second is literally all it would take, and she was center stage, under spotlights, stunned and dazed, for multiple seconds. Bummer. So before we keep going, there's actually an idea I want to talk about first. At this point in the video, I'm sure there are many people shocked by how nitpicky and critical I'm being, to which I say, yes, I know I'm being hyper-anal towards this show, and I'm well aware that people don't often watch content this way. Hell, even I don't. But it's this level of precise analysis that kind of has to be done to assess a story's quality. It's work. Work that I chose to do because of a feeling I had when I watched the second season. I felt that this season was disrespectful to the first, and now I have to figure out if that gut feeling is supported or not. Right, the feelings themselves are not invalid, right, because we had them, but good or bad, the implications and the justifications might be invalid. And we need to do a deep, precise analysis to figure this out, especially if the product is as shiny as this one is. That's what I'm trying to do here, even if that gets people to think a bit more negative about a show, because, well, only positive feedback results in stunted growth, regardless of the field or the medium. And as of right now, Season 2 is rated above Season 1 by a fair margin, and that genuinely disappoints me. But it also shows that these videos were worth putting in the time to make. So, I hope you'll bear with me. Most of my motivation stems from the character problems, and those are concentrated largely in Act 2 and 3, but that's my spiel. Let's kind of get back into it. Most of this final bit will be logistical, so let's hammer on through. Vi has an idea, and the camera pans to Jace's lab, specifically the window, and judging by the distance roughly, it seems to be about a football field, maybe 2 away, and we gotta remember it's 2, maybe 3 stories up. So Vi's plan is to run there, grab a hextep weapon, then run all the way back, and hopefully no one dies in the time it takes for her to do that. So, disregarding locked doors, armed guards, and general security, she's actually able to achieve this. It's because she bumps into a guard who drops his keys that she's able to get into the lab at all. And it's kind of at this point where we gotta ask ourselves, why be invested in the world, or the stakes, at all, if anything can happen at any point, and it happens the way it happens because the writer tells us it happened that way? Why not just clap at the pretty lights? So somehow she's able to get there and carry the hammer back in almost no time at all, and she's able to do this in the exact amount of time that is needed for her to save Jace from the chainsaw lady. If she was any later, then he'd be dead. If she was any earlier, then she'd be distracted fighting the other guys, and Jace would be dead. But I mean, let's face it, the villain would have just monologued slightly more, slightly less to accommodate. Right, so there's a million ways we could have wrote Vi or Caitlyn saving Jace here, and I'm not sure why we chose the way that doesn't deepen any of their relationships at all, or really develop them as characters in any way, and kind of just breaks the everyday mechanics of reality. But I suppose to keep things in order, we'll just move on to the Jace bit and circle back around. Jace manages to land a hit on Chainsaw Lady and yanks out her little nose thingy, and she's dazed. He runs backstage and she follows, and for a duration of time they play hide-and-seek off-screen. Jace finds a tiny handheld hammer, and his reaction is shrug, better than nothing. So he looks at the camera and acknowledges, this is stupid, this is silly, but I guess it's better than nothing. Right, so it's here that I had the thought, no way is he going to take out the stemmed melee build Chem Baron with this dinky-ass little hammer. Jace manages to surprise Chainsaw Lady and land a clean hit with his tiny little hammer, and she laughs it off. Or smiles it off. And surely this is all the proof we need now to know that she is definitely stemmed. How she loses a wrestling match with human who is not stemmed, I'm not sure, but I guess for now she's stemmed, and then I guess when she doesn't need to be stemmed, she won't be stemmed. Whatever. So this surprise attack fails, and he's grazed by the chainsaw. One would assume this would be it for Jace, as he's quite literally crawling, and Chainsaw Lady is, what, maybe 1, 2 steps away? But you would be wrong. He crawls all the way outside, to the center of the stage. Why she lets him do this, nobody knows, but it's this allowance, or teleporting, which I'm more inclined to believe, because, well, other characters start doing that as well, but that's where she gets blasted by Vi. Also, she monologued. Again. So, Vi with her TPs, or super speed, and Jace with his TPs, or speed crawling, result in the death of the melee-only build Chainsaw Lady. I don't know how to describe this better, guys. This is egregiously bad. Jace gets cut, and then we cut to Vi, now getting to the lab, then it cuts again, and Jace has crawled center stage. The editing makes it worse, but holy shit, this is ridiculous. I don't even know which is worse here. More time for Jace to crawl, or less time for Vi to sprint there and back. Alright, show. Fuck it. Just tell me what happens next. They win, Jace is safe, whatever. You say they look up and they see Caitlyn and the Overwatch squad surrounded. Wait a minute. Maddie? How the fuck are you? Hello? Hello? They just let you walk past them to regroup. You know what, fuck it, I don't care. She teleported, whatever. Everybody can teleport, it's fine. The big Chungus charges, Caitlyn shoots it, sadly not in the neck, because, well, the neck pipes that have worked previously in the past that you shot and stunned this guy with earlier. Whatever, you don't shoot there, it's fine. Vi and Jace fires hammer, then, surprise, the Noxians arrive and save the day. Now, I don't know Noxian abilities, so Spears doing this is fine. I don't know how this faction works, so they win with Spears, it's fine. This causes the hammer shot to miss, and Hextech doesn't save the day. A little odd meta-wise. I just would have thought we would have had Hextech save the day, because it would encourage Hextech use in the invasion. But you know what? Whatever. Mbessa kills the Baron, and, well, that's a wrap. Caitlyn and Vi have a conversation after the battle. Caitlyn calls the attackers animals because, well, we need prep for this scene.
It's her blood in your veins.
And Vi tells her she needs to call off the invasion. Her explanation being, this battle was on your soil, down there, you'll be on their terms. None of this is on our terms. Maybe you should change that. Well, I don't know how. Kind of a strange thing to say here, telling Caitlyn to get her shit together after this tragedy. But I suppose I agree with Vi here, after that display of Piltover's finest. It really does look like you guys are going to lose without Hextech, so surely this will lead to some sort of serious military escalation, especially for this invasion, right? Like another vote to use Hextech? That's got to be the prep here, right? We've been hinting at it for ages. But we all know the real reason. Vi says this to Caitlyn to set up Caitlyn taking charge at the end. That is her getting things on her terms. So they talk about some character stuff, emphasizing how much they care about each other, and then Caitlyn apologizes for springing the badge on Vi, saying she's scared if she goes alone to take on Jinx, that she might end up dead. Vi says she's not going to let that happen, and she's not going to let things fall apart. And that's the end of their argument over the badge. Vi is now okay being a Piltover enforcer. We cut again to Caitlyn using her family's library to study some sort of gas, and we cut again to the final payoff scene. So let's kind of look at what we gained meta-wise from this whole sequence. Right, starting with Piltover and Zaun, surely tensions and vitriol towards Zaun would result in an even more hostile response. Perhaps even, I don't know, an invasion with Hextech. We've been hinting at it for so long, I figured this would be the next natural step. This would justify all the events from the voting to the battle and certainly prove that we spent our time well this episode. But no, the opposite happens. and the Piltovers de-escalate.
If we do not defend ourselves with Hextech, our principles will mean nothing.
We aren't prepared for a full-scale invasion. I will lead a strike team into Zorn with 3 objectives.
Yes, after a subsequent attack, Caitlyn takes over the meeting and forces de-escalation with a strike team. One of the arguments being, we aren't prepared for a full-scale invasion, the Undercity's attack proved that. To which, I agree. Y'all were laughably incompetent. But doesn't that mean that most of this episode was a waste of time? Beyond introducing the Overwatch squad, which turns out to be a waste of time as well, and by accepting the badge, the battle and the vote accomplish almost nothing. The Jinx rocket attack provided all the motivation needed for this Caitlyn takeover, and Jace was on the fence about building weapons before the chainsaw attack as well. I don't know. Plus, like, after the Jinx attack, you could have made Jace's opinion on hex weapons be a positive one, but you tell us it explicitly isn't, and then, suddenly, it is. Almost immediately. Like, surely that undermines the gravitas of the Jinx attack. Like, you gotta think about this, right? Like, it didn't change after this, but this was just too far. It seems to me Jace was convinced to make these weapons by Caitlyn in an attempt to limit casualties and prevent escalation, not the chainsaw event at all. But then, is the whole action scene just rendered pointless? Or, in worst cases, damaging to the world and its characters? I don't know what we gained writing-wise. Was it to show how incompetent Piltover is? To show that they would lose? I mean, I could believe that if in Act 2 we didn't take over all of Zon in a montage off-screen, but we do. Maybe it was to purely show Ambessa's guile? It's a shame if you think about it, though. It shows how monumentally stupid she is. Imagine taking on all this risk with people she just can't afford to lose. I don't know. I suppose self-sabotage is just a type of sacrifice, right? Guys, she's not retarded. She's just embracing sacrifice. Oh my god. People are actually going to say that too. That's actually going to be a defense. So then we have the badge drama, which I guess is something, but it's resolved for reasons outside of why it was turned down in the first place. There's no resolved understanding. Vi simply doesn't want Caitlyn to die and wishes to support her. Things that were already clearly true and already emphasized by the Jinx attack. I don't know why we needed the chainsaw event to bring everybody together, especially after the biggest terrorist attack in Piltover that the world has ever seen. It's not character development. It doesn't deepen their relationship on any level. So I'm kind of forced to ask, what is the point? Are we just filling screen time until our end screen payoff? Are we just wanting to see our characters dance around different scenarios regardless of how they would actually act? Like, I don't know what we're doing. So that's it. The episode ends with Vi and Officer and the Overwatch squad looking cool. Well, at least the song is good. Linkin Park's really been putting out some bangers with this new singer. Oh, right, and Bessa makes a facial reaction to the Caitlyn takeover. This serves as one of the 2 references to her pushing Caitlyn to power. It's a piece of a setup to a payoff later on, based on decisions a character would actually make. That's good. I hope we don't character assassinate people to get our payoffs later on. That would be a real shame. Way to go, show. You did something right. I'm proud of you.